Got one or two more going to come in. You know.
Told me at the end.
One or two more going to come in.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, I did.
All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. There's 4 or 5 more people outside still getting their food, but we're going to get going. Thank you to everybody for coming this evening. This is more than I thought would be here, to be honest with you. So I appreciate everybody for coming, supporting the channel, supporting Gunnies, Crappie Cove. What do y'all think of Crappie Cove? Pretty nice, right? Yeah, got everything that Walmart doesn't. Yeah. So, you know, you can come here and get all your baits and get everything that you need that Walmart doesn't sell to every angler in the state. So it's nice. Thank you to Blake for allowing us to have this here. We appreciate it. Thank you for the food truck and everything that you've done. We really appreciate you letting us do this thing. All right, so we got some good things tonight. We're going to, we got a little treat here for Blake, myself, and Andy and Chris. As you can see, we got 4 cups right here. We'll explain that in a minute. Those of you that have followed the channel, y'all know what that's about. I'm playing to, we're live and here, so I'm trying to play to everybody tonight, but we got our cups. I'm not telling anybody what's underneath those yet. You're not going to see what's under those. Shaking. All right, so we're not going to tell anybody what's under those. It's a surprise. You guys are going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it because I know what cup is what. And I'm not telling you guys because I set them up. So got that going. Got a good presentation, I think, for you tonight. So I'm excited about that. And we're going to get going. Everybody else can just come in when they come in. How about that? Everybody good with that? Sure. All right. So I'll go through this. If you don't care, hold questions till the end, and I'll pick up questions at the end. If you have a question, just try to remember it, okay? Because we're going to go through this pretty quick. We've got about an hour to get through everything. So I'm going to go pretty quick, and I'll take questions at the end once I get done with everything. Is that cool? Everybody good with that? All right. So tonight I want to go through 4 seasons crappie. So one of the biggest myths in crappie fishing is that you can only catch crappie during the spring, right? Everybody's heard that. You know, you only fish for crappie during the spring. Well, you can catch crappie year round. You can catch them 12 months a year. It doesn't matter what the temperature is. Doesn't matter if the ice is, or if the lake's froze over with ice, or if it's blistering hot and you're sweating your tail off. You can catch crappie year round. You just have to know where to locate them and how to approach catching the fish, right? So, and they can be caught in quantity year round. So the same quantity that you catch during the spring, you go out there and catch a boatload of fish. You can catch a boatload of fish. Come on in. You can catch a boatload of fish all year round. Okay. So let's talk about the first season, spring. Everybody knows the dogwoods are blooming, the fish are biting, right? What's the best way to catch them in the spring? Planer boards. Who has pulled planer boards? Who has not pulled planer boards? More have it than have. That's typically what I see when I talk to people is more people have not pulled these than have pulled these. These are an insanely good tool to catch crappie with. Who here is longline trolled? Who has tried to longline troll in 5 feet of water? Does it work very well?
No.
No, it doesn't, because you're constantly getting hung on the bottom and you're constantly breaking off, right? With these planer boards, you can fish 5 feet of water and never touch the bottom. And you can let your line out as far as you want. You can completely unspool your reel and the line will never touch the bottom. So the way that these work is, if I don't break my new rod. All right, so the way that these work, these clip onto your line. Let's say you're fishing in 5 feet of water and you want to be 3 feet deep. You're going to want to set this somewhere between 4 to 5 feet from your jig. They clip on there just like that right there. This sits in the lake, okay? You can see it's got an angle cut on the front of it. What that does is it pulls it away from your boat. So when this is sitting in the lake and your line's pulling on it, it pulls it out away from your boat, gets it away from the boat, because when you're fishing in shallow water, you take your boat over fish, they scatter, right? Because the boat spooks them. So where they go? They go to the outside of your boat. This gets your bait away from your boat. And with only 5 feet of line behind it, at a speed of 0.6 to 1.2 mile an hour, you're fishing about 3 feet deep. 3 to 3.5 feet is what those baits are going to run. Now you can vary that depth with jig head size. So if you're pulling a 16th or a 32nd or an 8th, you know, the heavier jig, the deeper it'll run. Okay. I typically pull a double jig rig. What I'll do is I'll tie 2 jigs on. So I have my jig on the bottom and then I'll come up about 12 inches and I'll tie another jig on. That jig has to be tied first, tie a loop knot, come down to your second jig. That's the way I run my planer boards during the spring. And it's very, very productive because you can fish that shallow water. You can fish a lot of rods, a lot of baits, and you can cover a lot of area, catch suspended fish in the spring, okay, that are on spawning flats is what it is. So again, or to kind of give you an idea of what the setup looks like, okay, you've got 6 boards. You've got 3 boards on either side. Longest line is out the front rod, and I'll tell you why you want to do that. I'll tell you why you want the longest line out the front rod. Because when you get a fish on, that top planer board, for instance, okay, when a fish hits that board's going to swing in towards the back of the boat. So you want that planer board to be able to swing past your other lines so that it doesn't get hung up. That makes sense? So 3 boards on either side, and then straight out the back, you can do the exact same technique, but you can pull floats straight out the back so that you can cover the entire spread of water, okay? I did a video on planer boards this past spring. A lot of you guys probably saw it. You can cover 80 to 100 yards of water, well, not yards, feet, 80 to 100 feet of water in one pass when you're pulling planer boards, easy. So you can cover a lot of water and be very productive, okay? Brush piles during the spring, okay? Shallow brush, I like to look for brush. I've told you guys before, I like to stay a little bit deeper. I don't typically fish the banks in the spring. I like to fish for those staging females that stay out on brush piles in that, you know, that's about 14 feet right there. Anywhere from that 10 to 14 foot range is where I typically look for spring brush to catch fish, because I like catching those bigger females. The females are going to stage on that brush, okay? When it's perfect, when the stars align and the moon's right and, you know, the banjos are playing and everything's absolutely perfect, those females are going to run up, they're going to spawn, and then they're coming back out, okay? the females are not going to be on the bank anywhere near as long as the male fish. Okay, because the males move up first. The males make the nest or the bed. Females move up, lay their eggs. Males stay there to protect the fry. Okay, you can catch those big females a lot of times on these staging brush piles that are, like I said, in that 10 to 12, 15 feet of water. All right, creek channels, mouths of creeks. If you've got a creek that goes into a spawning bay, a lot of times right in dead center of that creek channel, if you can find brush, you'll find fish in the spring. Okay, because they use those creek channels just like we use roads. They use those creek channels to move in and out. Okay. Summer. I think for most crappie fishermen that I talk to, summer is their least favorite time to fish. It's hot. Fish can get lethargic, especially in August right now. I mean, you get a lot of fish that'll look at a bait, they'll follow a bait, but they won't commit to a bait. So live bait in the summer is not a bad thing. Fish, you can catch more fish on live bait in the summer when they get lethargic. When that water temp gets up there, 85 to 90 degrees, that surface temp, the fish will get lethargic, but they'll still bite. They will still hit a minnow. Trust me. Won't they, Colton? They'll still hit a minnow, won't they? Colton can catch some fish now. I'm telling you guys, that little boy right there, he can catch them. Crankbaits. That's another great summer tactic. So crankbaits in the summer, I like to pull Arkies. The reason I like to pull Arkies is because they're priced well. For those of you that have pulled crankbaits before, you know bandits are $7 now, $7.50, $8, almost $8, aren't they? A piece. You can buy an Arkie 220 or 330, I think is the bigger size, which is the same as the large bandit. I think they're about $3. And that's just what I prefer because when I break them off, I don't have to feel bad about it. So the way I like to pull my crankbaits, I pull crankbaits with, again, you've got 14, 12, 10, and 8 on either side. You guys have seen that on the channel. I've pulled crankbaits several times. And I like to pull them with a 2-ounce inline sinker. Okay, so that is a weight that goes directly in line with your line. It comes down, your main line comes down to it, and then you've got a leader from the weight to your crankbait, and it's generally about 3 feet. Okay. I like to look for main lake flats next to the main channel. I'm looking for anywhere from 15 to 30 feet of water. I'm looking for bait. I want bait there. I want bait balls. Typically, if you don't find bait balls, you're not going to find an overabundance of fish in the summer. You need to have bait. Okay. Fishing early and late. What happens is those crappie move out of those channels, okay, those main channels. They'll move out of the channel onto flats at night to feed, and you can go early in the morning or late in the evening, and you can catch them when they come out of the channel, okay, onto the flats to feed. So what are you looking for on a flat? This is a representation. This is your bait right here. These are your fish, okay? You're looking for groups of fish around bait that are suspended. As you can see, these fish are suspended anywhere from 10 to 15 feet down. So if I'm stacked vertically, there you go. So if you're looking for crankbait fish or open water fish, this is what your screen needs to look like. You need to have bait and fish, okay? Deep brush in the summer. I like to fish deep brush. Deep brush, you've got several things with deep brush. It's not affected as much by temperature changes. It's not affected as much by barometric pressures. When those fish get deeper, they're not affected as much by the elements, the things that are going on. So I like to fish deep brush. There you go, stacked vertically, right? I wore that out. I'm not going to wear that out this time. All right, so 20 to 30 feet of water. During the summer, I always start deep and I work my way shallow, okay? I always want to start out deep when it's hot and work my way in looking for fish. If I go out on those 20 to 30 foot piles and don't find fish, I start working my way in looking for them. All right. Let me reiterate back to spring. That's the exact opposite for spring. I want to start shallow and I want to work my way out looking for fish. Okay. Brush and creek channels and steep drop-offs. So I'm looking for channel ledges, drops, points, severe points, drops at the end of a point. I'm looking for brush piles that are off the end of drops that are in deep water. Okay. Small jigs. Everybody says, summer you need to downsize. Yeah, that can be true, but it's not necessarily fact. Okay. I've been catching them on stump bugs all year. You guys know I like the bonehead stump bug. It's my favorite bait probably, and I've been catching them on those summer, spring, winter, fall. It don't matter what time of year it is, they'll hit a stump bug. So you don't necessarily have to always downsize, but if you get on finicky fish, the reason that downsizing works is because during the summer after the spawn, there's a lot of little fry in the lake. So the fish are used to feeding on small fry because that's the natural forage that's there at the time, right? So that's why downsizing sometimes works during the summer because that's what they're used to seeing. That's what they're used to swimming by and eating. Fall. Fall is probably my favorite time of year to fish. Late summer, early fall is probably my favorite time of year to fish, period. If I had to pick one, it'd be early fall to mid-fall. I'm a dock shooter at heart. I love to shoot docks, and docks are great in the fall. You can just about go anywhere. Well, I'm not going to say in the country, but in the southeast, you can just about go anywhere in the southeast in the fall and catch fish on docks. Fish, crappie like docks. The reason they like docks is because a dock is its own ecosystem. Okay. Another tactic for fall is long line trolling. Talk about that too. So docks are their own ecosystem. Docks grow algae. Okay. Poles and floats grow algae. The bait fish feed on the algae. The crappie feed on the bait fish, so on and so forth. So that's what I mean by a dock is its own ecosystem, each one. What I'm looking for on docks, okay? Lights. If you see a dock that's got lights on it, chances are they put lights on their dock because they turn them on at night, right? At some point they're on. Lights attract bait fish, bugs, crappie. Generally, if you have a dock that has a light on it at night, the crappie will just move underneath it in the day and sit there and wait for it to get dark and the bugs and the minnows to come back at night and come back out and eat. So if you see lights on a dock, it's worth looking at. Okay. Rod holders. If you see rod holders on a dock, you typically know guys are fishermen. As fishermen, we want to catch fish around our dock. So he's probably got brush or something around his dock to attract fish. So those are the things that I'll look at the boat too. I'll look at the boat that's in his slip. If he's got a bass tracker sitting in that slip and it's rigged out with crappie gear, I'm probably going over there and looking at it because he's probably a crappie fisherman. He's probably got brush around his dock. So that's what I look for above the water when I'm looking for a dock. I've been asked before, do you look for floating docks or do you look for pole docks? Both. Floating docks and pole docks will both hold fish. It just depends on their location and if there's structure on them. Okay. So 10 to 20 feet of water. If you're looking for a good dock that's going to hold fish for the majority of a year, 10 feet in the back, 20 feet in the front is a good place to start. In East Tennessee, there are a lot of docks that have more than 20 feet on them, and I mean 20 feet on the back to 50, 60 feet on the front. If you fish Cherokee much, you've seen that. There's docks up there that got more water under them than but generally speaking, 10 to 20 feet is where you're going to find fish. You don't typically find a whole lot of fish under those really, really deep docks. That's opposite with the shallow docks. There are lakes in East Tennessee that on shallow docks, they will hold fish. Some of you that fish Chickamauga probably know that. So there are docks in East Tennessee that shallow docks will hold fish. So don't completely ignore anything under 10 feet. But you can bet if you've got more than 25 or 30 at the back, you probably can ignore that one. So another way I locate docks before I ever go to the lake is you can use Navionics, the boating app. You can look at Navionics. You can look at each individual dock throughout the lake. They're on the Navionics, and you can see how much water is under each dock. So we've made several trips. East Tennessee Crappie Club has made several trips. We do a members trip every year, and we go to a different location and fish a different lake. Some of you guys probably saw the videos from Hartwell last year, where we went to Hartwell. I spent probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, every night. My wife's like, turn off that phone. I can't go to sleep. I'm like, I'm looking at docks. Leave me alone. You know, I'm going to Hartwell. So, you know, spend a lot of time looking before you go to the lake, and it'll save you time on the water. Okay. You can use slip float and minnow around docks. A lot of times you can pull up to a dock and you can, if you see fish, but you can't get fish to bite, or you know there's fish there and they won't bite. Excuse me. I'm joking. You can pitch slip float and a minnow in between the slips and the boats. You can catch a lot of fish that way as well. For those that have never, who's never shot docks? Has anybody not ever shot docks? So, golly. So for those that had never shot docks, the way I shoot docks, okay, is I always hold the head of the jig. I have some people that tell me hold the hook. I'm not holding the business end of nothing. I ain't holding the hook. We did a training class on the water training day a couple years ago with the club, and I had a guy in my boat, and I was teaching shooting docks. I was teaching dock shooting, and he told his wife to hold the hook, and before I could tell her no, she was a squalling, and she was not happy. So she fished the rest of the day with a hook that was cut off so that she could shoot docks. But anyway, I like this rod a lot. I would say that I've used it, but I haven't. I just picked it up. But I'm going to use it now because I like it a lot. This is a 6'6" ACC crappie stick, and it's a 2-piece rod. It's got great backbone. It's got a great action to it. It is a medium fast, so it's got a really fast tip. That's the thing that you want when you're shooting docks, is you want a fast tip. I'm looking at the wall over there. Can I put a hole in your wall? Okay. So you want a fast tip on your rod. The reason you want a fast tip is because when you bring this rod back and you're trying to shoot underneath a dock, a lot of times these docks, especially in the fall before the drawdowns of our lakes, you don't have much to shoot underneath that dock. 6 to 8 inches a lot of times is what you got, and you'll find it funny that the fish find those docks that will make you cuss. They know which ones you can't get under. It's like they have a sixth sense, and they'll get back in there where it is absolutely horrible to try to get to. Okay, so you want a good fast tip, because a lot of times you're down on the water trying to get that jig underneath a dock, and if you let this bait go and you don't have a fast tip, it's going straight into the lake. Because if the tip's not going to be fast enough to pendulum that bait and get it going forward. Does that make sense? So I always start about the last eye of my rod. Okay, open your bail, hold the line with your finger, pull that rod back, load it up. Okay, you want to let go of the jig a split second before you let go of your line. It's an art, really. because if you let them go at the same time, it could go in the lake, it could go up in the air. You've got to time it to where you're letting go of this jig just a split second before you let go of that line. You've got to give it time to pendle them out, right? So when I need something. Let's do this. I don't want to put a hole in the wall. I like your wall. I don't want to put a hole in the wall.
We can give you a coffee cup to shoot at.
That'll work. Give me a coffee cup. I'll put it in it.
You hit it.
All right. So you want to, again, let go here, split second before here. Okay. You see how fast that tip came back up? A good fast tip is very important when you're dock shooting. Okay. Brush under a dock. That is the holy grail of dock shooting. If you can find something with brush underneath it, you'll generally find fish. If there's additional structure under a dock. What else can be structure under a dock besides brush? Cables. Okay. A cable under a dock will hold fish. The poles themselves are structure. Crappie like vertical structure. So if you've got a pole dock and there's poles going in the lake, they'll get on it. Okay. So that's pretty much my rundown of dock shooting and what I'm looking for docks. Fall is really when I start hitting them hard, but you can catch fish on docks year round. Okay. So here's a photo of a dock. Can anybody guess? And I'll be your pointer. Can anybody guess if you had one shot on this dock, where would it go? Somebody? Anybody?
The top of the V.
Where at?
Right in that area there at the top of the V.
Tell me where my
right there.
Right here?
No, well, that was there you go.
Right in here?
Uh-huh.
Nope. That's not where I'm shooting first. Anybody else? One shot.
Left of that. In the open.
Nope.
Go to the right or start. The right of the pole. Yeah, in that hole. Yes.
In here?
Down. There.
I'm trying to go, yes, I'm trying to go right in there, but I want to be right back here. That's where I want my jig. If I pulled up to this dock and I'm going to fish this dock, right there is where I'm starting at. Anybody tell me why?
Start. Further back.
That's where it's the darkest. Typically, when fish are on docks, they're looking for shade. They're going to be in the darkest area they can be. So picture this. You're in your house. It's dark outside. You hear something. You look out your front window. You can't see nothing. If the lights are on your house, you're watching TV, you can't see nothing outside, right? Now, if you turn all the lights out, you can see outside. But if you got lights out or lights on and you're looking out front, out your window, you can't see anything, right? But if you're outside and you're looking in, you can see everything because it's light inside and you're standing in the dark, right? So crappie will sit in the darkest point of that dock and look out to ambush bait fish because the bait can't see them, but they can see the bait. That's why they get in the darkest point of the dock, and for cover as well from predator fish. Okay. Longline trolling. Longline trolling, there was a lot of people in here that said they longline trolled. It's a very, very productive way of trolling or catching crappie. I think probably before live scope, there was 3 times as many longline trollers as there is currently. Live scope has changed the way crappie fishermen fish. We're not going to talk about live scope today, but it has changed how crappie fishermen fish. But not everybody has live scope. Not everybody can go get live scope. The best thing that could happen for crappie fishermen is that somebody be able to compete with live scope, but they can't do that right now. So it's going to continue the way it is. But longline trolling is a great way to catch fish. 2 12-foot rods, 2 10-foot rods, 2 8-foot rods, and 2 6-foot rods. You can vary that. If you want to go 14, 12, 10, 8, you can do so. Generally speaking, 12, 10, 8, 6 is where most people land with their rod. The reason you want to stagger your rods is so you have the separation in your baits. Because when you're long line trolling, who's ever turned too sharp when they're long line trolling? Go down a creek and you catch some fish and you're like, hey, I want to go back. And you start turning and you go, oh, wait a minute, snap. The next thing you know, you got 4 rods reeled in. You're like, trying to untangle them. You're like, forget it. You're cutting it off and you're retying. You've got to have the separation of your baits so that you can make those turns, and you have to make wide turns, but that way you don't get hung up. You don't get tangled as much. You can reel fish in. You don't get tangled, so on and so forth. So that's the purpose for having, and also to get the baits away from the boat. That's another purpose of the long rods, is to get your baits out, and you can cover more water. Speeds long line trolling, 0.8 to 1.2 mile an hour is what I generally run when I'm long line trolling. I vary my depth with the baits, with the weight of my heads. So if I'm rolling about a mile an hour, 2 8-ounce jigs is going to get me down 15 to 18 feet, somewhere right around in there. 2 16-ounce jigs probably get you down there between 10 to 14 feet, well, 8 to 14 feet. And then 2 32nd-ounce jigs is going to get you anywhere from 5 to 8 feet. And that's with a good solid cast out behind the boat. You're looking at about a 30 to 40 foot cast out behind the boat on each rod. So that's how I vary my depths. If I'm seeing fish at a certain depth range, I put the jigs on there that I need to get down to that depth range. Okay, it's all in the weight of the heads. When I'm trolling, I generally run, I run, you guys know, I've shown it before, I run vicious line. I don't change anything. I'll run 4-pound test. It don't bother me a bit. I remember the first time I went fishing, this has been, golly, this has probably been, I'm going to tell a story on Darren because he's sitting over there. This has probably been 6, 7 years ago, maybe. We went fishing one day and we were long line trolling, and I used to use 6 or 8 pound test, and I can't remember if we were in a tournament or not, but nonetheless, we're trolling, and I get a fish on, and I reel this fish in, and I just swung it over the side of the boat. And he goes, my God, he said, that's 4-pound test. He said, don't do that again. It was a tournament. He said, don't do that again. He said, that's 4-pound test. That was a big fish. I said, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I said, why do you use 4-pound test? And he actually kind of, steered me in the direction of 4-pound test. So I like a light line, and I like that for many reasons. I've shared that before. I won't go into the whole line debate tonight, but I prefer a 4-pound test, although I have been using braid a lot, which is what's on that ACC. That's that 12-pound bonehead braid, high vis, and I'll be honest, I like it. I like it for brush piles. I hadn't fished docks with it a whole lot, but I do like braid now. It's same diameter as 4-pound test, but a little stronger. So what am I looking for when I'm long line trolling in the fall? Again, creek channels. I'm looking at from the mouth of the creeks, probably half the way to 2/3 of the way back is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those secondary creek channels, the primary creek channels that are coming off the main river channel. And I'm running those channels because, again, those fish use creek channels as roads, just as we do. So when you go home, you're going to get on the road and you're going to drive, Broadway out to Maryville, and you're going to get on the interstate or go wherever you guys go. Fish use creek channels the same way as we use roads. Okay? So as they move up for the fall transition, because in the fall, those fish are going to do the same thing they do in the spring. They're going to move up shallow as the water cools down. Okay, so as the water starts cooling down, fish are moving up. So I'm out there searching in those creek channels, trying to find where those fish are at in transition. Okay. All right, winter. Dock shooting again is good in the winter. Fish will get under docks. Can anyone tell me why fish flock to docks in the winter outside of bait and Cover. There's another reason, a very important reason. Can anybody tell me? Anybody want to guess?
Warmth of the dock?
The warmth. The warmth of the dock. A lot of times, exposed structure in the winter, especially black floats, are going to warm up, and the fish will actually pull up underneath them because the water is a few degrees warmer. And a lot of times in the winter, you'll find fish, you'll shoot up under a dock, and before you can close the bell on your reel, it's going because they're in that warmer water. Okay. So dock shooting is good in the winter. Another good tactic in the winter, and again, with live scope, there's still a lot of people that spider rig, but it is slowing down with the people that spider rig. They're changing into a different technique, a different type of fishing with live scope. But spider rigging is a very productive way to catch fish in the winter, and I'll tell you why. Because fish suspend in open water in the winter. They will also get on shallow flats in some of our lakes. Some of our lakes, shallow flats, especially northeast Tennessee, they will get on shallow flats in the winter. Okay? Spider rigging, you generally got 8 rods out the front of the boat. You got 2 baits on each rod. Most everybody starts out with a 12-foot rod. The whole purpose of the 12-foot rod out the front of the boat is because you want to try to get those baits away from the boat, so you're getting to the fish before the boat spooks them, right? Because a lot of times in the winter, they're shallow. I can remember a time when we fished a tournament on Douglas. It was 6 degrees the morning that we put in on Douglas. It was the very first year of East Tennessee Crappie Club, and my shift handle was froze up. I got mad at it, kicked it, broke it. That's another story. So I was without a motor. And my buddy said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "Well, we got the spider rigging rods. We're going to fish right here." And he's like, "Right here?" "Right here." We put the trolling motor down, and we caught 120, I don't remember, 120 something fish that day. We were clicking them on the clicker because I had a clicker hanging up front. We were just clicking away. We did not win the tournament because we got smoked by that guy. But
Not that year.
yeah. Was it not? Oh. Well, there's.
Sailfish, maybe?
Oh, was it sailfish that year? Yeah, maybe it was.
Shallow fish, suspended, 5-6 foot deep.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it him? Okay. Well, we got smoked by somebody else, but we caught a lot of fish. Had a good day. We fished. We never left 30 feet plus water depths, and we caught fish 4 feet deep the entire day, sitting in 30 feet of water plus. So there are times where spider rigging is a very, very productive technique. You can fish with double minnow rigs, double jig rigs. It's basically, you can fish the same way, depending on your speed. You can fish the same way that's just you longline troll with large heads, or you can fish with a egg sinker in between your 2 jigs or your 2 minnows, and you can fish a little faster. So typically when you're spider rigging, you're running anywhere from 0.3 to 0.7 mile an hour. You want to go as slow as you can. A lot of people say if your boat's moving and if you know your boat's moving, you're moving too fast. That's part of the reason I have a hard time spider rigging, because I can't make myself slow down that far. I like to run and gun and go and fish and move here, move there. It's in my blood. So I have a hard time slowing down that much, and that's why when I spider rigged with a 3/4 ounce egg sinker or 1 ounce egg sinker, and I would move, upwards of that 0.7, 0.8 mile an hour, because I'd like to cruise around and cover more water. I felt like if I covered more water, I could present my baits to more fish, right? So weight and speed for current. Okay, if you've got a lot of current, you're fishing in the river, and you've got current, what you're trying to do is when your rod's out in front of the boat, you want your line to hang straight up and down. If you can tell that your line's swung back under the boat, you rather need to slow down or you need more weight. Okay, You're trying to keep those baits straight up and down, perfectly vertical. Okay. Again, fish 10 to 15 foot flats. Some of our lakes, there's an exception to that. The upper end of Douglas, there is no 10 to 15 foot flats. They're mostly 5 foot flats. And then, Douglas also is where, you can sit 40 feet of water and catch them 4 foot deep. So, but the key is you got to find the suspended fish because they'll suspend in the winter. Got to find them in open water or suspended in open water. All right. That's all I had. That's the 4 seasons. Does anybody have any questions? I know you guys have questions. Somebody's got a question.
All right, your
I don't ever explain everything that well.
long line trolling. Could you also use the inline sinker technique for that also?
You could.
Avoid the troubles you have with tight turns and letting out so much.
You could. Yep. And that's
control.
Yep. And that's the reason that I actually pull my crankbaits that way, because when you're pulling crankbaits with an inline weight, or if you were long lining with an inline weight, you are actually able to make a very sharp turn, because as you turn, that weight is going to actually take your baits and hang them straight off the end of your pole. So the inside rods are just going to hang straight up and down. And then when you get turned around, they'll pick back up and you'll start trolling. So you can, yes. And that will eliminate making those turns. Yeah.
I noticed that you had 12-pound braid on here.
Mm-hmm.
You use that for crappie fishing, maybe, but can you go with heavier line with braid than you can with mono?
You
I know
can.
People use 6-pound mono.
You can.
I didn't know if the diameter was small.
The diameter, if you go over 12-pound braid, because the 12-pound braid's at a 4-pound diameter mono. If you went up, it would just be a higher diameter. So if you went to 15 or 18-pound braid, you're probably looking at about a 6-pound diameter mono, and so on and so forth. So it's just going to be a larger line. But crappie aren't line sensitive. I've had a lot of people that have asked me if they are line sensitive. I have not seen that they're line sensitive. And I've fished with fluoro, I fished with mono, I fished with braid now. I can't tell the difference. I've never seen where my line went through fish and they ran from it. So
I mean, I said the more pounds you got, the better it is on brush fire. Yeah,
yes and no, because the higher pound test that you have, the harder it's going to be to break your line. And there's a lot of brush piles. Some of my best brush piles are small piles. I'm talking something that's just maybe 1 4x4 in a bucket, or 1, 3 2x4s in a bucket, or just 1, pole that's driven in the bottom of the lake. And with that 12-pound braid, if you get hung on a pole that's been driven in the lake, you can just about pull it out of the bottom of the lake before you break a line. Now, you pray that the hook opens up, which a lot of times it does. And that's kind of what I found with the braid, is you can bend a hook out. Does it disturb the pile? Yes. I was on the lake last weekend and got hung, went to straighten the hook out, and every fish, there's probably 40 fish on the brush pile. And when I pulled, I watched that limb on the live scope. It went, and I thought, uh-oh, about that time it broke. That limb snapped back, and every one of them fish gone. I said, well, we'll go find another one. Oh, well, sorry. So that would be what I would caution you if you went with a higher pound test. That's part of the reason that I like 4-pound test, is because you get hung in a brush pile. Jigs aren't that expensive, especially if you buy the crappie magnet jigs that are out here, the double crosses. They're not very bad. You can break those off and keep going. It won't spook the fish as bad with 4-pound test, but there's trade-offs to it, because the 4-pound mono, you don't have near the feel that you have with that 12-pound braid. If a minnow sniffs that jig, I'll feel it with 12-pound braid. With mono, sometimes you can't even feel the crappie hit it. So there's trade-offs. You just got to decide what you want. Anybody else? There's 457 comments down here. I'm sure I can find something.
Just talking about the line size. I know sometimes if you get too small on the braid, they make it 210, 1/8. I mean, they've got some small diameter in some of the braids. If you get down too small, a lot of reels won't pick it up. It won't hang and just rolling over in the pickup. And I started out with a lighter weight and had to actually go to like I think the type I use is like a 4-pound diameter mono. It's like a 12 or 14-pound test, just where it would roll over into the reel.
Yeah. A lot of times if you get too small with your braid as well, when you go to the lake with braid, something I've noticed is, way to go, man. Hey, that's on wheels, yeah. A lot of time with your braid, the first cast will aggravate the mess out of you if you're on fish. So if you're on fish and you go, oh man, there's fish right there, and you try to cast to them and the line won't come out, it aggravates the crap out of you. It binds up. Braid binds at first. So you gotta make a good long cast and you gotta let it sit there for a few seconds and get wet, and then bring your jig in, it'll cast fine all day. But if you go smaller, it's gonna bind up worse, because as you put it on the reel, it's gonna bite into itself. And that's something you notice a little bit with this, is it will actually bite into the spool some. And that's why I said I'm not real sure that I like it for dock shooting, because when you go to shoot this jig, I felt it when I shot that bucket a second ago. When you shoot this jig, you can feel it almost coming off from where it's bit into the spool. Okay, so that's something else with braid that I'm not a fan of, but I like the trade-off.
Do you notice the difference in sink rate between braid and mono?
The what? I'm sorry?
Difference in sink rate of the line between braid and mono?
What do you mean by sink rate?
How fast it?
Oh, no.
I've had some braid that seems like it wants to float before it starts to sink.
I haven't seen any difference. A 16th ounce jig, a second per foot, and I hadn't seen any difference with any line, mono, fluoro, or braid. I haven't.
So you're saying shooting docks, you would prefer mono over braid?
I would, yeah. Just because I feel like it comes off the spool better. I feel like I can shoot further. And again, to talk about dock shooting, it never fails. You're going to find a dock where you go, oh, if I could get 5 more feet, or if I could just get that board out of my way. I've threatened to take a chainsaw to the lake and cut some cross members in my day. So I haven't done that. I'm just saying, I've gotten to the point where I've threatened to. I'm like, So I want to eliminate all of the bad situations that I can, or the problems that I can. And if I don't feel like the braid comes off the spool as well and I don't get as much distance, then I'm not going to take it to the dock, right? So.
What's in the cup?
We'll get to that. In just a second. Yeah.
You're using the slider drugs, Crappie fish food?
I'm going to tell on myself. You asked. My personal best fish came on a Charlie Brewer slider. Yeah, it did. That was back, how many years ago? 4 years ago? Darren and I caught it in a tournament. I have it on video. I'm not showing it because there's a huge flag in the background. I ain't showing it. It did. So we were up on the deck. We were fishing a brush pile. That day, actually, we tried several different baits, and I said, I'm trying this slider. And we were fishing in Darren's boat, and I had my jigs in my pocket because I brought some just different stuff with me, and I had them in a Ziploc bag, actually. And I said, I'm putting this on. Whatever. And I threw it out there, and we just started busting fish. And I was like, hey, okay, cool. And he said, you got one of those? I said, I got one left. I think we had two and used them most of the day. That was all we had. But anyway, I cast a brush pile. I'm reeling. This fish hits. I set the hook, and I just automatically I just dropped my head. And Darren's like, what? And I was like, that was a big one. I felt it. I felt its lips. That was a big fish, and I missed it. I don't know. And you know, in a tournament, when you're trying to get set, I don't think we even had 7 in the boat at that point. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I cranked my reel twice, and it went, I was like, okay. And she struck it so short that when I set the hook, she was barely underneath the water and came up and rolled over. And when she rolled over, Karen goes, oh my God, that's a big one. Don't lose that fish. He's jumping through the boat trying to grab the dip net. It's a dip net and nets a fish, and it was a 263.
I think I said that's a hubcap.
That's a hubcap. That's what he said. Yeah. And so my personal best came on Charlie Brewer slider. So to answer your question, yes, they were.
What color? Black Greenfield?
No.
Right.
It was
That,
what's the name of it?
It's a turquoise blue one with a chartreuse tail.
It's a clear turquoise, and it has long silver flake in it. It's not like a glitter. It's like it's a glitter, but it's long. It's a like a rectangular silver flake with a chartreuse tail.
Black green. We had 35.
On the black and green.
Little river, and everybody said it's blue crappie. So I said,
Action tail baits. Yeah, action tail baits are great for casting, for trolling. If you're going to long line, use some kind of action tail bait. A Charlie Brewer slider, a slab curly from Crappie Magnet, a hot grub, something with an action tail that is going to get a reaction strike from fish. They're just great baits to cast and troll. Yeah. I use a pony head. We call them pony heads. I don't use the actual Roadrunner heads. I get the pony heads from Lightwire Hooks. Curtis Hobbs, but his pony head's the same thing as a Roadrunner. But we do use a willow blade most of the time. We don't use the Colorado blade. We use a willow blade. And I'm sorry?
Use the blade for the size of the miniature.
No, not typically. Typically, we use the same blade all the time. Yeah, I mean, just adds flash. If you don't have, if you don't have an action tail bait or anything in your boat, and you want action, I mean, you put a pony head on it, adds action to the bait. Anybody else? I got a question right here online. Larry Merrick asks, how do you get started planer boarding, long lining, spider rigging without having to invest in a dozen rods and reels? So I long line troll, spider rig, and pull planer boards with the same set of rods. Now, with that being said, I only spider rig with the 12-footers that I used to long line, and so I did have to invest in some more 12-foot rods to spider rig. But you can long line and pull planer boards with the same set of rods that you long line with. Okay. The planer boards are going to put some bow in your rod. There's no doubt about that. But these rods, especially, where's Andy at? Is Andy in here? Andy can tell you these rods are built to withstand what you put them through. Okay. This planer board is not going to break that rod. Planer boards, ACC rods, long liners. They can pull that board no problem. Same rod, right?
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. So they're built to withstand what you put them through. So you can use the same set of rods for planer boarding as you can long lining. Okay. And reels, guys, as far as reels to planer board and long line, you just need something that'll bring that fish in. A lot of times, all you're doing is letting line out, bringing line back in. So you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get invested in these techniques. Right? Anything else?
Matt, slip floating minnows.
Mhm.
I was one to always put the split shot 6 to 8 inches above the minnow. Because in my mind, it feels like it swims around better. The guy told me recently, he said he was right on top of the hook to avoid the slack when the crappie come up to bite it. I was going to get your thoughts on that. What's more important, swimming around or having that split shot down on top of that hook so the crappie don't have the room to move it around?
My opinion is, I would say I'm probably on the other end, a completely other end of the spectrum as far as where I put my split shot. So where I put my split shot, I do want my crappie or my minnow to be able to move around if I'm not fishing a very thick brush pile. So if I'm fishing a dock or I'm fishing a bucket that's got one stake in it and I see 3 fish down there, I want that minnow to be able to move around because he's going to look more natural. But if I'm fishing a Christmas tree or a set of Christmas trees that's so thick that the live scope won't even see through it, then yeah, I'll set that split shot right on top of that hook and keep that minnow where I put him so that he doesn't move around. Because if he moves around in brush, he's going to get you hung. You can't catch fish if you hung. So I don't typically look at it as the crappie being able to hit it. I mean, here's the thing. That crappie hits that minnow, your float's going to do something. And I don't want to hear it.
So the 6 to 8 inches slack there, you don't think?
I don't want to hear it from that side of the room. Your float's going to do something. I left my glasses at home one day, okay? And Darren's going, set the hook. Your float. Set the hook. I'm like, I can't see.
So even with the bite slow, it just comes up and grabs it.
Yeah, if your float's sitting in the lake and that fish comes up and takes any amount of pressure off that float's either going to raise up or it's going to lay over, or if he snatches it, it's going to go down. Watching the float is the most important thing when you're floating and flying or fishing with a minnow. If that float at any time makes a move that you hadn't done, set the hook. Because a lot of times we all know crappie feet up. I've said before, and with live scope, you can see it. Oh, it's really cool with live scope. A crappie, you can always tell, and I'm going to talk about live scope a little bit right now, but you can always tell when you're getting ready to get a bite on live scope because you can see your jig and you can see that fish, and he's sitting parallel in the water, and he'll ease up to that jig, and he's sitting like this on the screen, and every time he'll drop that tail 45 degrees, and you know it's getting ready to happen. Right? Every time. If that fish moves up to that jig and he does this, it's getting ready to go down. So crappie do feed up, but they will also follow a bait down. That is a very, very common thing that people have said all the time is crappie won't go down. They will. They will go down. And they will go down and pick a bait up. Because I've had fish that'll follow a bait to the bottom. I'm sitting there watching them on the screen, and I've got a burr in my line, and I'm going, and that jig hits the bottom. And next thing you know is that fish is carrying it back up. So they will go down and get a jig. But to my point, if that fish turns and hits that minnow, that float's going to make a move some way. So I wouldn't be concerned with putting my split shot 6 inches above my bait. Anybody else? Nothing else? Let's see over here.
I can elaborate on that a little bit, talking about pulling cranks and long lining and the planer board. I went to Mississippi fishing with the guys down there. That's the first thing he said was, he said, I used to have a set of rods for pulling cranks, a set of rods for long lining, a set of rods for spider rigging. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I never thought about it before. And he was telling his buddies that. He goes, you need one set of rods. These green rods are stout enough to pull, push, long line, do anything. So kind of interesting that you brought that up because they were kind of bragging on them about that. And I never really thought about it. But they'll pull cranks and push cranks and pull jigs and spider rig and do all that, so.
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
All right, so I gotta ask a question. What's in the cups? Where's Chris? Chris, come here a minute. Please. Does everybody know Chris, Sleep at the Real? Have you had a chance to meet Chris? Has anybody watched this guy on YouTube? Once or twice?
Had a group say they tried my recipe.
Oh, yeah? Was it good? I hadn't tried it
Brought
yet.
it up, so yeah. I think so.
I hadn't tried it yet. So everybody knows Chris. Chris came all the way from Texas to be here tonight. Not really. He came to fish and do other things, but in my mind, he came all the way from Texas to be here tonight.
Be part of his show.
Okay. So for those that have been following the channel, you know that Chris and myself and Fish and Ken are going to do a live tournament. But we did not know what day we were going to do that, but we have now decided on a day, and we want to share that tonight so that we can start talking about it and you guys can get excited and start planning for it.
Wait, hold on. What day was that? Because I just thought of something.
You serious?
Wait,
Are you
tell me
serious
what
right
day
now?
it is.
He-
Remind me.
He's just not going to show up and lose is what's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking
Do
November.
you plan ahead at all?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good. We're good.
Jeez. Please, man.
I was thinking about the owners tournament in November. I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh, that's in November. That's months away.
I'm busy.
Okay. We're going to talk about that in a minute because that's going to be fun. And I'm going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But so myself, Chris, and Fish and Ken are going to have a live tournament on YouTube, 2 hours long. Most 10-inch fish wins. You'll be on probably Fork or
Yeah, probably.
Palestine.
One of the two, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet.
Ken, does he know where he's going to be yet? He'll probably be on Fork or Palestine.
I'll just follow him around.
And I'm probably going to be on Teleco. So imagine that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be on Chick. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be on one or the other. We don't have to decide. We don't have to make up our mind until the day of, right? So maybe I'll keep that in store. Keep that for a surprise. But the date for that event is going to be September the 26th. It is a Saturday. The time for that event will be released probably several weeks before that, or the month before that, probably. Well, it is a month before that. Today's the 26th. But closer to it, we'll release a time for it. It will be live. We will have people in our boat with us that are going to be officials. They will be measuring the fish, keeping count on our fish. You guys can get on the live. You can ask questions. We're all three going to be on the screen at one time, okay? So for those of you that have been on the live, you've seen me do some split screen stuff. We're all three going to be on the screen at one time. You can watch all three anglers. The officials in each boat will be responsible for, answering or letting us know what questions are being asked, okay? They'll be able to watch our phone and say, hey, so-and-so wants to know this, so-and-so wants to know that. So you guys can participate in the event, all right? I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about y'all,
Oh, that's fun.
but I'm looking forward to it. I think I can at least catch 2 fish, I think. So if you can catch more than 2, maybe you can take it home. I don't know. But something else we're going to do. So who here has given super chats before and who hasn't? Has anybody not been able to give a super chat? Because I've had some people tell me they can't. Super chats are ways for you guys to donate to our channel, okay? So you can go on YouTube. You can put your information in. It's at the bottom of the comment feed. You click on super chat or super sticker. What we're going to do is we're going to fish for the super chats on that live. So we're going to ask you guys to donate to that live, to that tournament, and we're going to fish for it. All right. So
I'll just tell you, I'm not going to keep mine when I win. Mine's going to my nonprofit organization.
There you go. Mine's going to more fishing.
Your wife.
My wife. Yeah, probably so. 26th of September, we'll release all that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then in November, ACC is having a owners tournament. It's all the pro staff and everything coming down.
Anybody that you have green odds in your boat.
Yeah.
Lake Fork, November 14th.
November 14th, Lake Fork.
90% sure on that date. It's not in stone yet. A couple things to clear up, but it'll be a blast. I know it's a long way from here, guys, but
There's going to be a lot of good fishermen there. Are y'all going to do?
to Chris's deal? It is charity. So, man, once he beats you guys and we have this tournament, he's going to be mopping out.
I'm going to feel real bad taking from the charity.
That's why I said that.
I'm going to feel real bad.
That's why they put it in there.
Yeah, I'm going to feel horrible about it.
Guilt trip there.
But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll laugh at you afterwards if that happens. No, but it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of going back and forth. And the best part about it is we're going to be able to. We can hear what's going on with the other anglers on that live. Okay, so if that guy right there is catching fish and he's hooting and hollering, and I'm sitting there struggling trying to even find a minnow, it's going to be. Hey, I'm going to be tore up. I'm telling you.
What platform is that?
So,
StreamYard.
you can have up to 6 people in there, but we hadn't tried it yet, so we're gonna.
Yeah.
Stick with
It's StreamYard.
That'll be neat.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. So, looking forward to that. Now, where is Blake? Come here a minute, Blake, please.
For the record, Andy and I did not volunteer for this.
Andy's going.
Y'all got drug in. Y'all are guilty by association. Y'all are guilty by association.
You're on a lot.
For those that just came in, does everybody know Blake Hawk? He is the owner of Gunny's. Okay, he owns the Crappie Cove and Gunny's and everything. He's allowed us to be here today, and we thank you again for allowing us to be here. So, we are going to talk about these in just 1 minute, but I got one more person I need to bring up here. Come here, Andy.
No.
Yeah, please. All right. Did you guys get a chance to meet Andy from ACC?
Most of you.
I'm telling you guys. Now, this. I'm gonna be honest. This is the first time I've had one in my hands, but Andy and I have decided that I need to be fishing with these, right?
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, you'll like them.
we're gonna put the 6.6 to test, and you guys know how I like to fish. I love docks. I love pitching. I love doing everything that is this rod. Okay. I absolutely love it. I've done I do the trolling videos, and I do the long live scope videos like they do down in Texas all the time. But this is where my passion is. This is it right here. So I'm going to put these rods to the test. I'm looking forward to it. I thank you
Definitely.
very much.
Welcome aboard.
And thank you. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Definitely.
we're going to put those to the test, let you guys know how those work. But so we have worked this up for months.
Phrase that. You've worked whatever's up there. I don't know what's going on.
What I've worked up right here is special. So the way this started, okay? The way this started is who saw my video I did on crappie nibbles? Sunscreen, crappie nibbles, and Mountain Dew. Right? Did you see it? Oh man.
So I'm gonna do the Mountain Dew. You can.
Thought we were friends. Yeah, you ain't doing the Mountain Dew.
I'll do something.
So I did a video, and I said, do crappie nibbles really work? Okay? And I started out with a crappie nibble, caught a fish. All right? Took some Mountain Dew out, put some Mountain Dew on, and I use a hair jig so it's soak in.
Yeah.
Put some Mountain Dew on it, pitched that out, caught a fish. So I thought, well, it's got to be something nastier than that. So I had some copper tones poured in the boat. So I lathered that jig up, and I lathered it up, didn't I? I mean, it was covered. Pitched that out there. Boom. Caught a fish. So I said, don't know if I really believe that they work. Now, with that being said, don't jump on me yet. Don't jump on me yet. I know it's coming.
Oh, that's your crappie.
That's crappie nibble, man. That's crappie nibble, man. So
I like them too, don't worry.
with that being said, I do believe they work because they add color and they add profile to your jig. Okay. Do I believe the fish smell them and run from Kingston to the dam to come eat it? No. I believe in the scent and the color. Okay. So yeah, I'll use them because I believe in the scent and color. But we were joking around and that video spawned. It was like a plague that thing spawned. I mean, it was like people were coming at me from all different directions and corners and this and that. Oh yeah, they do. And I'm like, did you watch the video? No, but they work. And I'm like, well, watch the video. So anyway, it spawned all this conversation, and through that, we were on Chris's live one night, I think, and he said, well, I love them. He said, I just love them. And I said, well, then you're going to eat one. You come up and he said, oh, no, I'm not eating one. I said, oh, yeah, you're going to eat one. Then all the subscribers were like, yes, you are. You're going to do it. And I thought, yeah, buddy.
That's what I don't like it.
I like it. So I got to thinking about it, and I thought, why should he be the only one to have fun? So I got an idea, and I thought, well, let's get everybody involved. And let's not just eat one, but let's put 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let y'all pick how many you get to eat. And you got to eat them. Because we're on all kinds of videos.
I even get roped into this.
Because we like it. We like
I'm not
it.
eating 4.
This is the way we treat our friends in Tennessee. This is how we treat our friends in
I
Tennessee.
thought there was some Mountain Dew or something under one of
No. I'm not that generous. That wouldn't be any fun, would it? I kind of thought about maybe putting goldfish under one and just letting you know. But then I thought, no, that's too nice. Why would I want to do that? So, I'm going to let, because I did this, right? They're all crappie nibbles. It's just a matter of how many you get to digest. So, I did read the thing. They're non-toxic. They will not kill you.
What's up all over the place?
I got the chartreuse. I got the chartreuse ones.
with the glitter. We want that.
No. I didn't get the glitter. Okay.
Slap sauce, garlic dipping, you got that?
I didn't get any slab sauce dipping. No.
No dipping,
I can't do the dipping because it's this. I did read those bottles and it says may contain shellfish. If y'all want to see me fall out the floor and start flopping like a crappie, give me some of that. But I'm allergic to shellfish.
I just ate a burrito about that big.
That'll fit in there.
We got a trash.
Yeah, it's all gonna.
So, now we got to decide. Hey, here we go. Everybody stand around. The point is the arrow. Okay, I'm gonna spin the toothpick here. So, Blake, you get to go first. How nice. All right, y'all come over here because we got a screen going here too. So
It is.
y'all
He
come on.
changed his thing on us.
Y'all come on over and just pick your cup. Don't look at it.
And sure is.
You can pick it up. Just don't look in it. Oh, sorry. Let's just keep
There's
it.
4 in there.
Let's just keep it. All right, where's the toothpick? All right, guys. That's you, buddy.
Come on, Tex.
Don't look in it.
Smell them.
I don't think that's gonna be bad.
I think it
I
is.
just got a feeling.
Should have moved him around on us. He knew what was in.
All right. Oh, that sucks.
Trade you.
All right. I got 4.
2.
Hey, whoa. I need a chaser here.
You talk about.
Pour some water in there.
You talk about your all-time backfires.
We need to get.
You want to talk about your all-time backfires right here. This sucks. This ain't even fair.
It's not spit, is it?
Here.
Hey, I want to get on the camera there so they can.
No, they can do that. That's mine. I got 4. What are you complaining about?
I'll just go for it.
No, hang on now.
Oh man, cherry.
Your tail did drop 45 degrees.
Has anybody?
That's after you eat it.
That's after you.
That's in 10 minutes.
All right. Hang on. Let's push this out. There we go.
That's bad.
All right, so
Hey.
let me see them.
Toast. We got a toast.
Cheers.
Cheers, 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 cheers. You're chewy.
Oh, they're crunchy.
Chewy and crunchy.
They don't
They
taste
got
as
a
bad as they
crunch.
smell. These didn't smell bad. Have another one.
Yeah.
Remember the 4.
They got bigger. The fish don't eat this crap. I'm telling you right now.
So do they work?
Does it work?
I feel like dropping your tail 45 degrees now.
This was not bad.
That's been an
The
hour.
ones I used can really smell. They really stink.
No, I'm gonna drop something.
Delicious.
I'm gonna drop something, but it ain't my tail. That was bad.
I'll never do that
It
again.
wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
That was bad.
Go tip to that.
Now, if you were a fish, would you eat that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Oh no.
I think it works.
It's
I'd
stuck in my
probably eat
teeth.
some more. I don't know what y'all talking about.
All right, go get some more.
No, that's
Okay.
oh, there is a little bit down.
That was bad. Yeah, I think I'll
Stuck in my
stay.
tooth.
I think I'll stay away from those. Those are pretty bad.
Oh, that
It's
was
got a
fun.
grit to it.
Well, thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining in to the
Yeah, Andy,
madness.
thank you so much.
Ain't no problem. I've had a lot of fun down here, and I think I want to move out here and move the headquarters here eventually. I love it out here.
We'll be happy to have
Have
you.
a good tour guide, and get to learn Watts Bar.
ACC Tennessee, right?
There we go.
There you go.
Better than ACC Illinois. I know that.
We gotta wrap this up before I vomit.
And on that note,
Y'all are. I don't know how
Signing
y'all
out.
on it,
It
but
was your idea to have 4 though, right?
So I was saying, thanks for joining us.
Pretty bad.
yeah.
that's pretty. Did y'all not swell?
I was down the hatch. I didn't play with them.
I don't know.
Was I the only one that actually? I was the only one that chewed them.
All 2 of them.
Everybody else chewing wasn't in the description.
No, this is just down.
I didn't taste it.
Well, how can I make an honest opinion if they work or not if I don't gnaw on them a little bit?
That's all right.
Probably don't have to.
But thank you for coming from Texas. We appreciate it. Thank you for allowing us to have it.
Yeah.
I've got to meet a lot of you guys that putting faces with the names, and that's pretty cool.
I've met a lot of these guys at the show in Knoxville. It was cool to watch them walk through the doors. Like, I know you. Some of them left, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all for coming. We really
Keep
appreciate it.
watching these guys.
And do me a favor on the way out, we got t-shirts laid out on the counter. My apologies, dinner was supposed to be on me tonight. It didn't turn out that way. So t-shirts are on me tonight on the way out. Have a t-shirt as you go.
I don't have anything else.
All right.
Thank y'all. If y'all don't have anything, if you have questions, comments, come see me. I'd be more than happy to answer anything if you have anything.
Southern, not running out.
Well, we went fishing today? No, we went yesterday. Yeah, we got went to Chick morning. Lots of party. You're okay. No, he wasn't there. Blake and Andy and myself. So kind of did that run, and we did okay. Wasn't great, but at the same time we were fighting storms.
And,
You give names.
Thanks for the name. It always
Yeah,
helps.
well, it is for us.
Yeah, everything that you say on the board really teaches you.
My fish are out in the
Yeah.
river channel. You know,
Thank y'all. We're out.
oh yeah.
So